Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And a good morning at you. It's a Tuesday in July, the 10th to be specific. And being a Tuesday, that means my sister Susan is joining us for the hour. Hi, Suze.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm in my house.
Oh, you are? You're in Chicago. I didn't know.
Yeah.
where you were. Okay.
Well, half the time either do I.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you're in your own home for a little while. And our mother's home is being fixed.
Our mother's home is being fixed, but yet another tragedy hit Whitney Street.
What?
Mother's brand new next door neighbor just trotted off this mortal coil unexpectedly yesterday.
Oh my! The people
it's like God is pointing his finger at this side of.
Jesus. Are you kidding? The people who
street.
moved into that little house next door?
So, yeah, and the wife just had a heart attack, I think, and that was that.
Oh my! Well, maybe the lightning was supposed to.
So all the neighbors came rushing out again with casseroles. I think that Mother says they're looking vaguely exhausted.
God. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that tree on Mom's house, and then 1 week later,
the
next door neighbor. Right.
Jeez.
So
Okay.
that's not of any importance to anyone but
No,
Mom,
no.
who's vaguely freaked, and it's very sad. But
Yeah. Well. Well, to us
and I think
survivors.
she sits around and goes, "Well, how come she gets the bolt of lightning and I don't?" You know, Mom's really at that stage. She's getting grumpy about this.
Aw, God. Listen. You have to. We'll have to.
She is.
Well, we have to remind her that she's often says, "I love life."
Well, actually, what she said right before I left is, "I just love this earth."
There you go.
So she doesn't really mean it.
No.
She's just curious.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Okay. Well, we should get to the show.
Okay, this is my mind skittering off everything else.
No. I mean, I have to tell you. I mean, thank God there's wonderful news today with all those kids.
There's a lot of wonderful news.
There is?
I mean, I'm waiting for the seals to come out, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
all
what.
all of those kids and that coach got rescued in the rainy season.
I know.
There
Amazing.
is nothing short of,
I guess it's miraculous, and that's.
It's miraculous, not to overuse the term, as is finding that baby that was buried, quote, somewhere in the mountains, unquote. And that baby is fine.
This is some guy who buried a baby. I just saw a little item. And where was this?
Well, he didn't bury her very well, but he was very shallowly and probably saved his life because he covered him with leaves and dirt and probably kept the poor thing warm in 45-degree temperature.
Where was this?
In the mountains, was it Montana or something? Guy was nuts or on drugs or something, and
was it his kid?
And the cops found him, and then he said he may have buried a baby up in the mountains, and they found the kid.
Alive.
And the kid's okay.
Yeah, the kid's. Was it his kid?
We don't know. They are not releasing his.
Well, I mean, my
relationship to
God.
the child.
Okay, all right. I have to tell you, other than the miraculous rescue in Thailand, I found the news today unbearable. I mean, there was one anxiety-producing story after another, and I literally, Susan, I don't know that I've told you. This is my last show for a little bit. I'm taking off again. I can't do it.
No, you haven't told me, but thanks for letting me know.
I'm barely.
How long are we taking you? Will you come visit me or something?
No, I'm going back. I'm going back to the.
Oh, right. You're getting
Right,
your money's worth this time.
Yeah. I hope. I'm just going back and trying to a new infusion of of Zen or whatever. I just
Okay, so are we taking a week or 2 weeks?
a week
Or a month?
No, a week, I
week.
think. But everything remains in flux as far as I'm concerned. I really
It gets very difficult. I get it. And I think you need to pace yourself and take a break. I think I understand that, and I think everybody that loves you understands
I think
that.
everybody understands it because I think we're all struggling.
We're all fatigued, and we have to sort of
Right.
do what we need to do in order not to,
Right.
to be able to maintain for the long run,
Right.
which is, what we got to do.
Well, the
We
long
gotta
run
keep
is
our
what
eye
is
on the prize.
the long run is what we're in, and that's what our side has been woeful at. No quick fixes here now. The long run, we're looking at a decades-long fight, uncertain
the
fight.
The New York Times tells us why Democrats are bad at this today.
Because they don't vote in
Because
midterms.
our brains work against us. And Democrats are obviously more concerned with shorter, easily attained goals and instant gratification than they are with the long-term goal of saving our nation, which takes a brain that is willing to give up short-term for long-term, and apparently our brains are conditioned against that.
What?
And
Just what? I
obviously,
mean, whose brains? Are you saying Democrats?
All brains. I mean,
All
there's
brains,
actually
yeah.
an article on it, not related to politics, but it explains this too. It explains why when I set a task for myself that, like, I'm going to finally put everything in my house where I want it as opposed to where it landed when I moved here,
Yeah.
I can do anything but. I will unload the dishwasher. I will then magically find myself doing something in another room, which leads to me magically doing something in another room. And before I know, the long-term, harder-reached goal is gone. But apparently it's our brain chemistry that makes us do that. I'm just saying.
Jeez, I don't. All right. Well, we're. I mean, the fact is, the country's in trouble. I mean, serious trouble, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, but the most frightening thing is how so many of our country men don't acknowledge it, don't see it, and are just gonna fritter away everything that we've accomplished post World War II, the entire international order that was set up after the horror of World War II.
Right.
Is being dismantled.
We're gonna have a president playing with Putin.
Right, is being
just
dismantled
amazing.
by this president, and it is truly frightening. There's, well, okay, I don't.
I mean, and he's not even a quisling. I mean, a quisling implies some sort of subterfuge. He's just flat out saying, "This is my policy," turning our friends into our foes and our foes into our friends.
That's right. And it presages some bad times ahead. There's no easy way around it. I really. So you know what? I think it was maybe a few days ago that the letters section of the New York Times did ask people to their ideas about how to change how you would amend the Constitution. I mean, is the Constitution serving us well? And I have to say, one of the people said this, and I think it is so true. He says the Constitution has too many flaws to patch it up with a few amendments. It is thoroughly unfit. This is the Constitution he's talking about. It is thoroughly unfit for a nation of 330 million people in 50 unequal states with 21st century problems, values, and ideals. And what this guy is saying is You know, as much as we've learned to revere the document, the Constitution, and what the founders did back then, it was an entirely different time in a small nation. It is not the nation and time that exists now. And in fact, if we were to draw up a constitution that would serve this country as constituted now, it would vary quite a bit from the Constitution they drew up back in the 1700s.
Well, it would, and that's why I argue that we have to keep it. I mean, it's like suggesting that we remove gravity and see what happens. Everything would just fly away. There's no way that states would be able to renegotiate a common goal and keep state interests in mind. It's much easier. I disagree with this guy entirely. It's much easier to amend a constitution. I mean,
it's next to impossible.
It's easier to get 2/3 votes to get rid of the electoral college than it would be to get 50 states to agree on a new constitution.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that we need a totally new constitution. Obviously, some of it works. Yeah.
He's saying the document is too old to expect to be fixed with Band-Aids. So what does that suggest he's saying? Throw it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to wonder if even a parliamentary system wouldn't work better and be more representative. I just don't know. We are obviously, the Electoral College is a huge problem. Well,
it takes away one man or one person, one vote.
That's right.
It sure does.
It sure does that. You know. And also the Senate makeup allows for unfair representation. The fact that the citizens of Montana, of whom there are, 12, have 2 senators, and the millions and millions and millions of people of California have 2 senators. That's nuts. That is flat out nuts, and gives always these big, huge conservative states undue influence on our country. It's
right, and it's sort of, the unintended consequence of trying to make sure that people living in vast stretches weren't outnumbered by urban dwellers, in terms of interests. I mean, I understand how they got there in a much newer country in a less populated time.
Yeah, yeah.
If I were in California, I would be for breaking up the state into 3 states. I mean, at least you'd triple your representation.
Well, technically not, because you would then be part of a smaller state. I don't know. That's not going to happen either.
Well,
I mean, first of all,
senators for each state.
It won't be allowed. First of all, it won't be allowed. I mean, there's no way they're going to be able to do it. And I don't know. I just don't know. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm in a state of absolute despair.
I mean,
right now.
My mind has been hopping around all morning, just because there's so much going on here. And one of the things that caught my eye was the guy that has been chosen to shepherd the Kavanaugh nomination through the Senate is not who one would expect. He's a guy that represents health care interests, as in, I don't know how representing health care means denying it to people, but that's apparently what he's going to do. So for no good reason, I think the Republicans are trying to focus discussion on health care, which is like handing a big, shiny apple to Democrats.
To oppose
I don't know
him.
if we're going to be in trouble if we take a bite, but they're trying to get rid of pre-existing conditions.
Yes, they are.
There's sort of a rule that a privilege granted is a right denied. So now that people have been granted, what in this country appears to be a privilege of being able to be sick as a child and still get coverage for the rest of your life. It seems to me that there's no really good reason to hand this to us, because everybody's been outed with their pre-existing conditions, and yes, there's an out as long as you stay continually insured. It won't be an issue for you.
Well,
but for anybody that might lose a job and fall into hard times, and you've outed yourself with pre-existing conditions, you're now sunk. You're not only out of a job, you're out of health insurance. Unless you get back into another corporate job.
The cruelty unleashed in our country right now is what I cannot. I just can't stomach it. Did you see that a woman in New Jersey died in her house? She required oxygen.
Yeah, and the electric company
turned off her power, and killed her. This is the kind of country we live in.
I didn't read that article. Was there a snafu? I mean, electric companies generally have rules about things like that.
I don't know. All I know is
they aren't allowed to turn off the
this is an
electricity of
ugly
people who
country
depend
now.
on it for medical equipment.
Yeah, well, fine. We have a call. Hello. Caller?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, I just wanted to say that Democrats say we're a democracy, which I don't believe. I think we're a fascist country. Corporations make the laws. And I think two things are going to destroy us. It's the defense spending or global warming. One of the two, or both.
Well,
that's just my opinion.
Okay, no, I don't think anyone in their right mind would say we are a democracy. We are, I think, closer to an.
They still preach that we are, but
we're not. We're an oligarchy now.
No, that's what we are.
We're an oligarchy heading toward a very kind of fascistic politics.
Even at best, we were never a democracy. We are a representative form of government.
Yeah,
so.
Right. A republic, right. So, no, we're in grave danger. We really are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know.
Thank you,
okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
We ain't what we learned in civics class. And we ain't what we purport to be. So today, I guess some of those kids are going to be reunited with the ones under 5, might get reunited with their parents. However, not anywhere.
Some of them, yeah.
And this was the day that the federal judge said they all had to be, under 5 had to be. And the government's not getting even close to that. And are there any consequences suffered when if a federal judge told me I had to do something by a certain date and I didn't, what would happen to me?
You'd be in contempt and in jail.
Yes. So what I'm wondering is why then wouldn't the Kirsten, whatever friggin' name is, Nielsen, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, and why wouldn't the head of Health and Human Services, the two agencies involved here, why wouldn't they both be held in contempt and thrown in jail?
They should. I'd like to know why they haven't been charged with kidnapping.
That too.
I mean, they took these children away from their parents with no intention of ever giving them back.
It seems that way.
Intention.
Well, because they had no way in place to do it, they deport the parents.
There was no end game there, and if you talk to people, you ask them what appropriate end game for these kids was. It was foster care.
And
stick them with anyone they can find, or foster care,
and
not to go back to the parent.
Inevitably, also adoption. There is one agency.
That's right.
That's right. There's an agency in California that's right. They were stealing kids.
I mean, people do end up in jail for this. Our own government is basically trafficking.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just, a country that traumatizes children. And I don't know if you also saw today the ungodly photo of a 91-year-old man beaten, bloody, his face just blood, his ribs cracked. He is a Mexican American who was walking down the street and was attacked by a woman with a brick. 91 years old, as she screamed at him, "Go back to your country."
Well, is she in jail?
No, the police are looking for her. There was an eyewitness, so you tell me how hard it can be to find. I'd like her strung up. 91-year-old man. This
Well,
is
you
our
got to pick on someone that you can kill. I mean, you don't want to get actually hurt.
babies and 91-year-olds. The ugliness, the cruelty.
Just the judges that are faced with children under the age of 5 who have no guardian ad litem in court, and he's asking them whether they understand the charges.
You have these
And
little
they
Susan,
got
you're right.
bawling infants in front of them.
They have had babies, 1-year-old babies, in court. And a judge is saying, I'm supposed to ask this baby if he understands.
There's no guardian. There's nobody speaking for the child.
There are children who don't understand the language, whose feet are, way, can't even touch the floor. And they're in this cold courtroom with this big guy looking down at them, and there is no representation. And this is America? I'm just asking, is this the country I'm supposed to pledge allegiance to? This is the country I am supposed to love and revere? I don't recognize this country.
I'm telling you, we should all be taking a knee every time they play that anthem. We should sit
Everybody
the fuck
should
down.
sit. Yeah. I'm done.
Not in my name.
I really... I mean, it is that bad. Go through
No, it is that bad.
Go through the newspaper with me today, and you will see that there is not one thing other than the rescue of these kids that will...
Other than the rescue of these children who we seem to care about, forget the others.
Well, because there was such
Just grabbed our
drama.
attention
This
in our
was
hearts.
this was a drama.
Okay,
And
back to business. Let's keep abusing children.
right. And our president now is, I guess, about to land in Belgium, where he will go out of his way to offend every one of our allies, people who have stood with us for the last 70 years and before, our allies from World War II. He will offend them, and then he'll run off to Helsinki to be with the guy he loves and who somehow owns him. And I really wish that we someday will find out what the hell Putin has on him. Roger Cohen in the Times today does flat out say it. The question remains, why is Trump in Putin's thrall? Why? Granted, he may be drawn to Putin's bare-chested strongman style, but he also may be compromised, essentially owned, whether by Russian intelligence or by his own dirty financial dealings. And that's where I think it is.
I'm sure that's more likely that they've been. There's a lot of money that was paid for things that shouldn't have been paid for things. It's a giant laundering operation.
That's what I think.
And you don't have to have anybody peeing on beds in front of him. There's far more important stuff.
Exactly
to
right.
Look at.
Exactly. We have another call. Caller, go ahead, please.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Susan. Yeah, I mean, completely. In terms of Trump being compromised, of course he is. No money gets laundered on any major scale from Russia or the Eastern Bloc without Putin knowing about it and having a connection and getting a payoff. We all know that. Ever since he assumed power, that's been the case. So I don't think it has to be anything salacious at all. It goes back to Trump's financial dealing.
I agree, but
so that's why.
So why aren't we? How much more damage can he do before it can be proven?
Correct, and in that sense, we really are saying, look, I would certainly state that even as a constitutional republic, we've always been an oligarchy. There have been studies done that have shown that, the wealthy and the powerful and the connected get their way even when public sentiment is against them. About 75, 80% of the time they get their own, they get the policies they want enacted. Right now, we're flirting with naked fascism, nationalism, and a kleptocracy. And it certainly does go back to this notion that some acts are just some official actors are just unaccountable to any law. I mean, as you said, if you and I did the sorts of things that Kirsten Kajilson, whatever her name is, I'm sorry, I guess I should, especially with my last name, I shouldn't go at anyone else's last name. But I just think she's, as Samantha Bee said, she's Fajilla Fajit. We'd be in jail. You don't defy a court order.
No, these guys suffer no consequences, ever. They suffer no consequence.
Perjury.
No consequence.
No contact with the Russians. Yes, you did. You perjured yourself. Jared Kushner. Multiple instances of perjury and doctoring official documents to get a security clearance. He has clearance reinstated. I'd be in prison.
Yeah.
But this even goes back to the Obama administration not pursuing financial criminals. There were these giant mortgage lenders who forged signatures. They had lost the records, so they just forged signatures. They backdated them. Or look at Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Cheating customers.
Yeah. No one's in jail. I know.
No one's in prison.
I know. Because yes, prisons are for black
prisons
people.
Prisons are for people of color.
And poor people. Right. That's what prisons are for.
And people who,
it's
no
really
one who's much more than about middle class,
No, unless you steal rich people's money, a la Bertie Madoff, then you'll go to jail too.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah.
That'd be about it.
If you're a millionaire stealing from billionaires, then you go to jail.
That's it. That's the only way it happens. That is true. But, hey, John, thank you.
I would just say.
Okay. Well,
thank you very much.
Okay. Bye. Jeez. Oh. Margaret writes to say that the Confederate flag is coming back to the South Carolina State House on Tuesday.
Of course it is. That was just a temporary lapse in judgment.
Susan, I don't know. I'm sort of mad at anybody who's not freaked out, Although,
well, no, I mean it does demonstrate a certain lack of awareness of how bad this really is.
Yeah,
and how I don't know how we fix it even when it ends, and I frankly don't see it ending.
No,
and we got a lot of work to do, but that's what I was saying. We can't be so dismayed that we stop remembering that we have to change this. Even if it's a step at a time. That's what we have to do.
Well, I was talking yesterday about one of the good signs is that women are rising up. Women are running for office. Women are, you've got a lot of instances. We have 2 here in Western Pennsylvania, and then we got the race in New York City where young women coming out of the woodwork and working their tails off have knocked off incumbent, strong men who have.
Well, and they're fairly, remarkable women as well.
Yeah. So I was looking actually the number of women one of the reasons Pennsylvania is as backward as it is we've got next to no women in our in positions of power in this state. This state's outrageous. Never, there's never been a female governor. Never been. Has there ever been?
Well, you got to convince women to vote for women. If the women would vote for women, that wouldn't be.
Well, but it has to be the right women, because we got women running who are every bit as reprehensible as men. You got to have progressive women. Women, in terms of legislatures and women in the legislature, I mean, it's outrageous how the percentages, how little women. Women make up over 50% of the population, right? In Pennsylvania, they have less than 1/5 of representation. And I think there's certain states that are really amazing. Arizona is a state that loves being governed by women. 40% of their legislatures, they have.
But a lot of them are right-wing women.
That's right. Minnesota, 32%. Colorado, 38%.
But, the fact is that a mean woman is meaner than any man.
Okay. We've got actually callers lining up here, Sue, so we got to get to the phones. Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Is it me?
It's you.
It's you.
Oh, wow. Because I called once and got a busy signal. I said, look at Lynn getting busy signals calling her show. That means you're doing something.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and there's someone on hold too. Yeah, there's someone on hold. I just want you to know.
Yeah, I thought I was at the end of the line. That's when that beep came to say, "Oh wow, I'm first." Anyway, being anxious about the future. This reminds me of after 9/11, when somebody called. I was lined up to vent my frustration, and somebody called, was in line before me, and she was from Nevillewood, the rich section. Worried about her grandson and all this and things that are going to happen. And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, you're kind of like a black mother who has to put her little son on a bus every day to go to school before she goes to work.
Right. They got the white people's attention.
Yeah.
And the same thing went through my mind. I'm like, hey, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
You live in a world of anxiety. You just don't know what's going to happen that day.
That's right.
I just put something on Facebook about my turn signal going out last week. And I was on the road, and I went to make a right turn, and my little flasher flashes really fast if a bulb burns out.
Yeah, right.
And I instantaneously got worried.
Because you're driving while black, and you're going to get stopped. Yeah.
I want to get pulled over. It might not cost me my life, but it might cost me some money. It's like, I was anxious the whole time,
Isn't
until
that
the next day. It's like, and I know, I was in Scott Township, their chief of police, I played basketball with him, and that's going through my head. I'll just drop Jimmy's name. And
oh, my God. See, isn't that, so that's real anxiety, because isn't that something?
Because my turn signal went out. That's it, my turn signal.
My turn signal has gone out. I don't have that anxiety. But you should. You should.
Yeah, I'm just worried. Yeah, it's like, could I just happen to get pulled over? And I've been pulled over. Well, let me tell you something. When I was younger, I bought, this is like 1990, 89, a 10-year-old Cadillac. I got pulled over that thing so many times, it was ridiculous.
Because you should.
You ran the yellow light. You didn't stop dead. It was ridiculous. We're talking the crack era, and I'm pretty young. It was some old man car that he sold me for like $3,000, but it was clean. And I am a black guy, so I have to drive a Cadillac. So, so I got
at least then you did.
Yeah, exactly.
I was I don't know if I mentioned this the other day. I was out on the street. I think I did. And this beautiful convertible Mercedes or something with a black guy driving it was on Smithfield. And I looked at him and I thought, geez.
Football player.
I thought, well, I don't know. I thought, you're either really brave or really, I don't know, stupid. I mean, because it seems to me you're just asking for trouble. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
And that's one of those things where, you say privilege and people don't understand. So, your turn signal can go out. You can go over the speed limit. I got to go to speed limit.
Yeah.
You can just pause at a stop sign. I have to stop dead. And I actually count. 1, 2,
Wow.
3. I don't care if it's the middle of the night and there's nobody around. You should see the owls give me.
Yeah, it's so true, because if I see a speeding car and it's a black guy in it, I think, oh God, what are you doing? You're going to be dead. That's it's a different reality. I understand that now. I don't know that I did before.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Thank goodness for the iPhone.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, rest in peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
That people are filming this stuff and people are realizing oh,
wow.
it does happen.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we should.
Okay, real quick.
We should get somebody else in here, Clarence.
But it's me.
But.
Bye, Clarence.
I'm kidding. Goodbye. Bye.
Speaking of privilege, okay. Goodbye.
All right. Bye.
Bye. But it's me. Caller, are you there? Hello? Oh, now come on.
Hello?
Hello?
No,
Oh.
he went away.
Oh, hi.
Oh,
No, you're
there you
there.
are.
Hi.
Hi. No, I hate that call. Makes me feel guilty.
No. Yeah, right. Are you a white male? Yeah, well, you should.
I am.
He's
indeed.
a white
There was
speeder with non-working flashers.
Well, no, I was thinking there was a very brief time. The only taste I ever got of that as a white male was I was living in West Virginia in kind of a crappy neighborhood, and I don't know what the deal was. I was driving a crappy car, and I was pulled over repeatedly in that car for some reason. That's never happened any other time in my life. I don't really know what the reason was. One time my turn signal was out, but I had just bought it, so it was sitting there on my lap. So they let me go for that, and then they pulled me over a few days later for my car matched the suspect of something supposedly, but I think they were making that up. So I don't know.
Huh? I don't know.
But yeah, that really what he's describing is pretty frightening. And the other thing that's frightening is as soon as you said, well, you said you feel that way every time you see a black man driving. And I thought, well, they don't have to be driving; they can be just standing still.
That's true.
At this point, and 44% of the country will defend whatever happens.
That's right. That's right. Just being alive while black now is clearly puts you in jeopardy.
Yeah, black or brown.
Brown. Yeah.
Regardless of age, the only thing that. I think he may have joked, and somebody's joked in the past, the only thing that protects you is if you have a uterus wrapped around you. That's about it.
Right.
And not always then either. But which brings me to what I was actually calling about, because I keep hearing people saying, and you guys, that abortion is going to end. But what I keep thinking would get more people involved is the realization that prior to Roe v. Wade what was the ruling on birth control? Connecticut versus Griswold?
Yeah, it was Griswold.
Yeah.
And I occasionally troll pro-life Facebook sites, and those people, I can guarantee you, are looking to get rid of birth control too, and that, for whatever reason, that never comes up. I would think that would get more people's attention.
Well, they've done a good job at...
I
just want to say they've done a hell of a job at limiting access to abortion in some. There's whole states where you can't. So it might be legal, but if you can't get it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and also access
totally
to birth control.
Yeah,
access to birth control as well.
The discussion really needs to include not one but both, since both rest on the same legal footing. Correct?
Yeah.
So,
well,
and I think that there are people that are just dismissed. Well, I'll never have an abortion, even if 1/3 of women will. But what's the percentage of women that use birth control? Or what's the percentage of men that are happy that their women are using birth control? And
that's true.
Pardon my phraseology, but
it's
so
true.
I really think that would get some people's attention.
I don't think.
I don't know.
I don't think, as Susan was saying before, once you have something, I'm losing my voice. Sorry.
Yeah, once you have something, it's hard to take away. I'm not. This is one of the cases where I wish that Democrats weren't just automatically knee-jerk screaming abortion. I think they do it because it gets people's attention. There are a lot of other things that this guy could do that are equally bad.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy. Roe v. Wade is the rallying cry, but there are decisions, after Roe v. Wade that solidify it and are a whole lot more what we rely on now than actually Roe. So I'm not so worried. I mean, I think, as you were just saying, that they'll just keep on
They'll
figuring
chip
out ways
away.
to limit it.
They'll
And
chip and chip
there'll be
and chip.
places where you can get them and places where you can't, but they won't. I'm not worried about that. And I think that we really need to be, smart about which issues we identify and instead of these insistent, exhausting rallying cries.
I think you're right, but these are people. 18 months ago, there were a lot of things I didn't worry about, and I know these people do not hesitate to overturn precedent. They don't give a shit about precedent.
No, they don't. I agree.
And,
I agree. Well, he's on record that Kavanaugh's on record that he does. So that's the one thing.
We'll see. There's 200 years of precedent that said the Second Amendment didn't give you a personal right to a weapon.
That is true. That is true. Right.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So
some of those people are dead now. So.
Oh,
anyways,
dear.
I'll let you go.
Frightening.
I'm going back to. I'm not listening to the news ever since Kennedy announced his retirement. I stopped listening to the news except for the things that pop up on my phone. So I'm kind of out of it. But
there was a report. There's an NBC.
So I'm pretty horrified that you're going to. I'm very stressed that you're going to be gone for a week because that means I have to find something else to listen to for this hour of the day.
Well, that won't be hard. There's a lot of stuff out there, and anyway,
Wrong.
I'm turning into a gibbering idiot. I mean, I am really in need.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we all are.
All right, well, I hope you enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself.
Too. Yeah, thank
Bye.
you. Bye. It's not even a matter of enjoying myself. I'm just trying to reclaim myself.
Right.
In my life, it's just, God.
I'm a little concerned that you're coughing and you're losing your voice just at the thought of going there again.
Yeah.
Let's not have.
Last time I went, I got so sick. Yeah. Right. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. Anyway, what I was saying is I think it's very hard for people to even imagine that there won't be ready access to something like birth control or abortion because it's been there for so long, but it can be taken away. And I think people can't believe that we could find ourselves. In
that situation? Well, we sure could. I'm just reminding you that there were a lot of Jews in Europe that just didn't believe that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear.
And I'm going to use that example again because that's exactly where we are.
Yeah. We're in a really frightening place. It cannot be overstated. Someone just sent me a bumper sticker. I like this. Impeachment, it says. It's not just for blowjobs anymore.
I love gallows humor.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, we have an explanation for why this woman almost killed the 91-year-old man pummeling him with a brick. Supposedly, he had bumped into her toddler on the sidewalk. And then others joined in, kicking him in the head.
Well, so we know everybody knows who everybody is.
I don't know. They got to arrest all these people. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jesus. So,
I don't understand where, well, I do understand, but I wish they would all go back into the holes that they used to live in and permission to behave thusly were taken away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like they didn't always, our fellow countrymen didn't always have this hatred and vile cruelty in them, but at least they knew that the norm was they couldn't voice it openly, like in polite society. But Donald Trump has destroyed polite society and all the norms that were holding certain things in check. And, I mean, the only good part of it is we're all now aware. You know, you can't be kidding yourself anymore about who we are and
about and how hateful a human being is capable of being,
and a whole lot of them
think that they're allowed to go out in polite society.
Yeah. Well, oh God. So do you really think that the Supreme Court or any federal judge should have a lifetime tenure? I mean, I think you could give them, that's a part of the Constitution. When the New York Times points out today that when the founders, said the Supreme Court position was a lifetime position, life expectancy was about 40 years, Yeah,
I think that's sort of bull. I mean, that's an average, but the people that were sitting on the court were well-fed, a much easier life than the other people, and they tended to live.
That's true. The founders were all
70s.
Older, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think what we're finding is that people do retire if they, are not up to it, and the whole point to having the lifetime appointment is to free them to behave responsibly. And
well, that ain't working anymore.
In many, many cases, it does free them to behave responsibly.
Well, not
We've had more people that rose to the occasion than didn't. And I'm sorry that we have such good examples of didn't available now, but
NBC News is reporting. Did you hear this? That that they have a source that says that Justice Kennedy was in talks with Trump or the administration
over when to do this.
Not only when, but he wanted the assurance of who would replace him. He said, "I'll leave, but I want to." Assurance. And if that happened, that's not kosher. And in fact, the guy who Trump chose, who he might have chosen long ago, and all of this show was just as usual a Trump show because you had to look like you were looking. But it could be that Kennedy is the one who picked Kavanaugh.
Well, I don't think there's anything anywhere that says that he's not allowed to have input. No, I mean, is it usual? No, but I don't think that there's anything anywhere that says that if he feels that he has some power to wield, that he couldn't have wielded it.
God.
It's not like he's asking to put his son-in-law in there, or asking for gain. He was asking for influence.
And you do know about, speaking of his son-in-law, you do know about his son.
I do know about his son-in-law and his relationship to Deutsche Bank.
No, his son. It's not his son-in-law. It's his son.
Oh, his son, yeah.
His son is the one who, when no one else would give Donald Trump money, he did. Deutsche Bank. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Lots of it.
Huh?
Lots of it.
Lots of it. No American bank would loan Trump money because he was a bad, bad bet.
Yeah, he never pays it back.
But somehow Justice Kennedy's son over there at Deutsche Bank didn't have a problem. I don't know. Suze?
Yeah.
I wish I had something fun for our last 10 minutes. But I don't. I don't even have anything close.
Me either.
Did you see that
I
at
wasted
Wimbledon?
my total brain output at the top of the show.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, because I was... Oh, here. Someone's got strange but good
you
news.
talk, 'cause I'm going to cough.
Okay. Oh, well, I know this, William. Don't tell me anything else. All 12 of the boys and their coach made it out of the cave. I know. We know that.
We know that. I want to know.
We want to
if
make
the
sure all the
SEALs made
rescuers
it
are out. Right, because the last people that are in there are a doctor who went in when they were found and stayed with them, and another, like, rescuer people. So, yeah, we need to get everybody out. And I guess they will. They got this down. So
they got it, and the weather cooperated.
Thank God. So, hello. So
yeah, sorry, I'm choking.
There's this thing I've been. You know how smart houses and people who have, Alexa and all these other things in their house and stuff, which I just can't stomach. There was a story of some time ago, which I haven't brought up, but since we're on, like, nothing but miserable stories, I will. But it turns out that men who like controlling their women or like abusing their women are finding that all of these technological so-called smart gadgets are just wondrous ways to abuse and terrorize women.
Of course.
Because they're saying there's a new pattern of behavior in domestic abuse cases tied to the rise of smart home technology, where abusers are using it to constantly monitor every move their woman makes while she's at home, controlling the house so much that the thermostat, without the woman's ability to control it, can be turned up so she's roasting, or turned down. Doors lock. She doesn't have the override. That this is happening a lot now. Do you believe?
Well, and just think, if you buy a smart house and you sell it, and the owner, the previous owner, maintains the ability to fool around with you or their teenage kid. You have to be very smart about that. I mean, basically, when you buy something like that, you have to replace, you have to recode and or replace, some of this stuff so that can't happen. I don't know why anybody needs to have the stuff in their house.
The what?
I don't. Why?
Things that, like, turn on lights or turn on... I don't get it either.
It's all a hazard. It all comes with far more issues
negatives
than it solves for you.
Exactly.
For example, those key fobs. The key fobs on our damn cars, we should carry them in aluminum foil.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. Why is that? Why are you supposed to wrap the
because
fob
other people can access the code and start your car remotely or disable your burglar alarm. My burglar alarm came with key fobs, which I keep wrapped in aluminum foil in a metal chest, so that if I set my alarm, somebody else can't unset it. It's really, it's apparently so easy that anybody wanting to do it could do it.
Wow. Well, it's beyond me. It's beyond me by anybody would want these things. It's absurd.
Well, especially when they, there's all sorts of things that are beyond me. I've never understood why people had sex tapes of themselves or naked pictures of themselves,
right.
which got stolen and put,
I know.
So, certain things simply weren't going to happen to me. But still, I wouldn't want one of my devices to simply decide to send all of my pictures to some random person in my contact list, which has happened.
Well, anytime you have these gadgets, they are just ripe for abuse. And, there was this terrifying story about how much China is using this stuff to totally control its people. So that even any average Chinese person has got to believe that they are being watched all the time. Now, there are so many cameras in China trained on every public space that and they're constantly monitoring, doing facial recognition of crowds and finding immediately.
Of New York, Lynn, walk the sidewalks of New York, because if you don't think that that's what New York is like after 9/11, you're wrong.
Oh, that's right.
You don't think that people are happy that it's that way, you're also wrong.
Yeah. No. And no, here too. There's cameras all over the place.
And we do give up a little bit of our freedom for what we perceive to be a greater good of some kind of security in these mass situations. But then, we have to trust in our government to let them have this information. And
right.
There would be the rub.
There would be the rub.
I don't like to say rub during the Trump administration, but go ahead.
Why? Oh, Susan, what do you mean? I mean, how does... Oh, God. Well, Milton, thank you. Milton has sent me something.
Clarence put up something the other day about, on Facebook, by the way, saying that research shows that the youngest child is the funniest.
You think? Who says that? It doesn't. It's not
research.
Research.
You know that guy.
Yeah, Mr. Research. He and Mr. Expert are pals.
It's the same as people say.
Yeah, people say. So Milton has sent me a list of words, synonyms that were used in Old English for people who are talking nonsense, and these are good. We've heard all these before, but balderdash, cod swallow.
Balderdash was the first one that came to my mind.
Yeah, balderdash. It is thought to have originally been a random mixture of frothy liqueurs, or the foamy water used by a barber to shave a customer. That was balderdash. How about cod swallop? That's good. Bunkum. And that was actually from a guy in North Carolina in 1820 who said, so that's not Old English, was making some stupid speech. And he was the congressman for Buncombe County. His name was Hiram Codd. Anyway, poppycock.
Well, by these terms, we've got to include confefe.
Confefe?
Yeah.
I guess true. Poppycock either comes from a Dutch word for soft poop or from the Dutch expression meaning as fine as powdered doll's excrement. What?
As fine as powdered doll's excrement?
Yes. Where do you want to start?
There's an image.
I don't even know where to start with that.
Don't you just picture a porcelain doll with a painted face pooping talcum?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Little piles of pooped talcum powder. Poppycock. All right, that's enough. That's enough for me. Let's end it there. Poppycock. Because,
Okay, bye. Well, have a good trip.
Thank you, Susan. I'll talk to you before I go. And,
oh, okay. I assume so. Okay,
yeah,
bye.
and, bye. Bye. She can't get away fast enough. Goodbye. Goodbye. You're released.
Bye, see ya.
Goodbye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. And you guys, I'm gone until at least a week from this coming Thursday. Although it might be longer. I really don't know. I'm right now feeling like I'm done in. So I don't want to let this guy destroy me. But he kind of is. I am not the toughest character. I'm not. I'm very fragile in my way. So I got to go lick my wounds, and I wish I could say I'll miss this, but I won't. I mean, I literally can't do this right now. So I'll see you, I hope, in about a little over a week. Okay? Everybody for themselves. Everybody take care of yourself, okay? Whatever you have to do. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.